Never related to a post more in my life than this, essentially, because I think of a lot of random players in all leagues, but the NBA, when it talks to stretch fours from the 2010s, which is kind of an era that I grew up with, 2000s, 2010s, there's a lot of different options you can go here. It's not random yet because he just retired, but I think Paul Millsap, years down the line, is going to be that random stretch four that people are going to think about from time to time. I just needed to give an excuse to talk about Paul Millsap because this guy was an absolute baller. And maybe not necessarily a stretch four, but he did play some power forward and mainly center. But another one, Al Jefferson, is another one that I'll be talking about forever. And again, it's another excuse to talk about someone like Al Jefferson. By the way, I need to get an Al Jefferson Bobcats jersey because that would be an insane pull. This duo right here was peak basketball for me. I'm just going to say it. This Jazz duo was great. But here's some other random stretch fours from the 2010s. I think of Patrick Patterson, former Kentucky Wildcat. Played for a bunch of different teams. Was actually a lottery pick back in the day in 2010, if I'm not mistaken. But he was a stretch four that you randomly think about maybe from time to time. Mo Spates was a walking bucket. And if you know, you know. That's another one I think about. Anthony Toiver was probably the definition of a random stretch four from the 2010s, and also the perfect definition of a random player you acquire at the trade deadline, because it feels like every NBA trade deadline in the 2010s, his name was always floating around. Real hoopers definitely remember Boris Diaw from his time with the Suns, and even with the Spurs, helped them win a championship in 2014. What a time. And lastly, Brian Cardinal, the custodian. If you know, you know. This was a very random stretch four from the 2010s. And there's definitely a ton more, and probably a lot more and better ones to name than the ones I previously mentioned in this video. So definitely comment down below some random stretch fours from 2010 to 2020. And let's reminisce on the good old days of NBA basketball.